welcome to Confused Reviews, where a cartoon drawing reviews movies, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series has, well, an interesting story to say the least. It all began with the 1974 original turning out to be one of the best horror movies ever made, and the late Tobe Hooper used atmosphere and grit to paint a realistic picture of terror. It also made a lot of money and was one of the pioneers of the slasher genre, so once the 80s rolled around, everyone was aching for more from the Sawyer Boys and Leatherface, and Cannon Films was itching for a sequel. So Tobe Hooper, knowing he'd never top the masterpiece that was the first one, created Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, a black comedy that was almost parodying the original. And even though it gave us fan-favorite Chop Top, it was mostly panned by audiences and critics alike. And while I like it because it has scenes like Dennis Hopper and Leatherface fighting with chainsaws, I get the lackluster reception. And the studios did too, as the third installment, entitled Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, acted as a semi-reboot trying to bring it back to its horror roots. And even though it has a few welcomed additions, it still falls flat in comparison to the original. And that leads us to the fourth film, originally called The Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The movie was absolutely destroyed upon initial release, so it was swept under the rug for years, that is, until two of its stars exploded in popularity in 1996 and were soon household names, Matthew McConaughey and Renée Zellweger. So they dug up this train wreck, slapped a new title, and whipped up some new posters with the stars' heads taking up most of it, and it was shat out to the world. Envisioned by writer-director Kim Henkel as the true sequel to the 74 original, it manages to be a continuation of none of the three previous films. Very odd, considering this guy co-wrote the first one with Tobe Hooper, so it boggles my mind how you can veer so far from it and make something this strange and terrible. Oops, jumping the gun a bit. So let's dive into the fourth installment and just, experience it together. Oh, almost forgot the necessary element to viewing The Next Generation. Now I'm ready. This is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4, The Next Generation. So the film begins with some Buffalo Bill cosplay being carried out by Jenny, played by Renée Zellweger. And one quick camera flash later, we're suddenly at the prom, but instead of Carrie killing these morons and this being done and over with, instead we get this.
It's just, she's such a bitch.
Is that girl alright? Should I call the police? While she continues twitching, Heather, played by Lisa Newmeyer, finds Jenny and Sean, played by John Harrison. Oh, and to finish off our introduction of these terrible teens, there's also Barry, played by Tyler Cohn, who Heather finds smooching with another Heartlet, so she hops in her car and immediately allows him to get back inside.
Nice.
After more
Barry, I saw you. You were kissing her.
that, Jenny was in the back seat for some reason. Don't cut to me, I don't know why. But it does cause them to get into the most minor collision of all time, so Heather just says fuck it and drives off.
Never a date in your life, you're so ugly.
Oh my god. They talk about getting cancer from lack of sex and a bunch of other pointless garbage, but it's acted so horribly, I can't help but laugh.
So fucking annoying.
They make a wrong turn. Nope, not even going there. And they end up in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Girls have tits.
You know, I figured I'd at least shoot for the 10-minute mark before I started drinking, but 8.5 is close enough. Anyways, they somehow manage to get into their second car crash of the evening and get out to exchange insurance information and whatnot when Ponyboy Curtis here passes out.
Do you think it'll start?
Why is she yelling?
I'm dead. Somebody kill me, please.
Give it a couple minutes, buddy. Your wish will be granted. I'm sure of it. So yeah, Jenny, Barry, and Heather all try to go find someone to help them, and this Austin Powers suit-wearing fuck drops the flashlight, only to miraculously find a real estate office in the middle of fucking nowhere, because whatever. Darla, played by Tony Parensky, is quite the comedian.
Why do blondes stick their heads out of car windows?
Why?
Get a refill.
Shut the fuck up, I will fucking laser you with alien fucking eyes and explode your fucking head.
But yeah, because this movie is just very bizarre, Darla has a brick thrown through her window, she's unfazed by it, and just flashes the culprit. I couldn't possibly make that up. That's real. That's in a movie. And in case you thought this thing couldn't get any crazier, or I wouldn't say for some reason anymore, buckle up, because Vilmer, played by Matthew McConaughey, shows up in his Illuminati wrecking pickup truck. And shows us his robotic leg. Yes, a character in this movie has a leg that's controlled by TV remotes. But it gets better. Vilmer snaps the driver's neck and chases Cole Sprouse here down the road in his truck with more lights on it than the Ecto-1, only to have Sean start reasoning with this clearly crazy person, because he's now too tired to press on.
Just tell me what I can do. Give me a chance.
There aren't words to describe the hilarity of this movie. Sean, instead of, trying to run off into the woods or hide in any logical fashion, just tries outrunning the truck, which of course doesn't work and just helps Vilmer run the bastard over, like 150 times. Jeez, this makes the scene in Jeepers Creepers look quaint. After a pickup truck that contains one of our movie's future characters does the logical thing and zigzags the fuck out of there, Barry and Heather ditch their friend and cause Jenny to slowly walk around the forest and whisper to herself like a lunatic.
Okay, who's there?
I'm Batman.
But then, she's attacked by the most terrifying of creatures. Something so terrifying, traumatic, and scary, I'm not even sure if I should go on.
We have a 2319!
Yeah, she's attacked by a garbage bag. I feel like I'm reading off a Mad Lib written by a blind person. Thankfully, for no one, the two bimbos find a convenient farmhouse in the middle of the woods.
Hey, is anybody home?
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't come to the door right now. I'm afraid that in my weakened condition, I could take a nasty spill down the stairs and subject myself to further school absences.
And Barry tries to... Hold on, was this guy looking into a boarded up window trying to look inside? Not even the one with the clearly bigger hole in it. No, the one with the crack the size of a gnat's dick. This can't be real. Dollar store Donnie Brasco here is then interrogated, Texas style, by Walter, played by Joe Stevens.
You better not shoot me, mister. There's a man that shot a kid who was wrapping his house and they got him for murder.
Was he reading his lines off of cue cards? God, he's terrible. Walter.
Shoot this piece of shit, will you?
After a quick mule kick, we see Leatherface. Seriously, Bubba?
Oh my God, what are you doing here?
You deserve better than this. You used to be scary, man. But instead, this is the first thing he does in this movie. Was scary. Now he sucks. He struggles for like 45 minutes to subdue this 90-pound girl and even allows her to break free and lock herself in a room. But Bubba breaks in and... Oh, and he breaks down the door, and one quick continuity error later, he stuffs her in a cooler.
Wait, he isn't dead. Shy surprise.
Okay, I can't use that song in every Texas Chainsaw review, but it always works surprisingly well. There's entirely too much noise happening right now. Thankfully, we pop back to Barry, who locks himself in the house and leaves Walter outside.
Dumbass!
Your presentation is lacking a key ingredient.
Dumbass!
Ah, that's better. He walks in the bathroom that looks like it has flesh-covered wallpaper, which I can only assume smells delicious, and after taking a quick leak, notices a corpse in the bathtub. Two things. One, that looks too much like Mary's mother from SpongeBob. And two, you smelt that room when you walked in. Maybe look down...
Right there!
And you would have known that from the beginning, moron. Barry gets killed, and Southern Shaggy here just stands outside doing jack shit, and why is this motherfucker wearing purple pants? Huge Prince fan or something? And since he hasn't had enough trouble with Heather already, he lets her out only to throw her ass onto a meat hook because the first one did it. Just when you think all the fun is over, you're dead wrong as Vilmer returns, and even though he acts super shady and weird, Jenny still gets in his truck anyway.
You're not scared.
You're right, I'm not scared because this movie isn't scary. Entertaining's all hell though. She looks into the back to see Ryan Gosling and Frodo at the end of Return of the King, and she jumps out of there.
Deuces!
And because why not, Vilmer pops on some tunes for the chase.
I'm driving a truck, driving a big old truck.
okay, that's not the real song that's really playing, but would it be any less funny if it was? Jenny makes it to the woods, but instead of running or anything smart, hides behind the thinnest trees in existence and is found in a New York minute. But she doesn't want to come out, so Vilmer tag teams Leatherface in, who lazily chases her through a pond, but we all know that this is just a ripoff of this. Jenny! Wish. Anyway, she runs over to the slaughterhouse, and I mean Slaughter as the last name, because for whatever reason, Leatherface is credited as such, which is weird. Not Sawyer, not Hewitt, but Slaughter. Huh. Oh, and he saws through the door. Bub, if this isn't the same continuity as the original, you should know by now not to saw through the fucking door.
Look what your brother did to that door! You damn fool! You ruined the door!
Come on, Kim, you should know this. Oh, and they're now in the room with an emotionless mannequin. Oh, and this guy. Thank you. But she pieces up and $10 says the gun isn't loaded. Yep, too easy. So she just throws it at him. Hopefully that wasn't expensive. Well, nothing compares to Kurt Russell in The Hateful Eight.
Music time's over.
But after being featured in this fuck poop, I don't think it's worth a dime. She then jumps out of the window, and because movie, they jump around like in the Amityville Horror, and after breaking more of his own goddamn house, Jenny decides to get onto the TV antenna. No, not jump off the roof or try to fight back. She dangles on the antenna instead. Oh, would you look at that? We're almost empty. There we go. Where were we? She jumps onto the wire just in time, but isn't quick enough as she then falls into whatever the hell that is. Even Jason's makeshift house in Friday the 13th Part 2 was better constructed. Anyway, she heads back to Darla's roadside real estate office, which I still think is stupid. Hell, Michael's cereal shack sounds more enticing.
Well, actually, I can't cook, and I am starting a restaurant. Mike's Cereal Shack.
I'm thinking we'll have as many varieties as you can buy in the store.
Walter returns and...
What's this look like to you? Green eggs?
Nope. Not at all. And, big shock, Darla was working with the crazies. Oh, and Jenny gets the piss whipped out of her with a cattle prod worse than that guy in Would You Rather, and gets tossed into the trunk in a scene ripped out of Reservoir Dogs. I mean, she even goes to get food during the kidnapping. Weird. Darla chit-chats with Jenny, who's still tied up, right in front of the pizza joint with kids, cops, and whoever else standing right there, but gets away scot-free because they didn't give a shit about this movie. I mean, the cops drive right next to her moments later and just drive off. The fucking Blues Brothers were better cops.
Are you the police?
No, ma'am. We're musicians.
Oh, and in case you were wondering, Heather's just in the middle of the road now. If you remember, she was impaled on a meat hook a moment ago, but she's all good now. Why bother with continuity, logic, or anything, really?
Please don't hit me. Don't! Don't hit me!
Are you even fucking trying? This is pathetic. I could even edit in different sound effects to make this scarier. Darla makes it back home and we see this monstrosity because they're ramping up the split personality thing to 11. But in other news, Vilmer spouts off more nonsense to Jenny.
You don't think the FBI has its place under 24-hour surveillance? You don't think there's transmitters in all these walls?
Fun fact, if you could call it that, it was confirmed by Kim Henkel that this movie has weird Illuminati subtext. Like the aforementioned tow truck and some shit later on in the movie, but why? This stupid slasher movie is not the place to try to be cutting edge and deep. Especially not after the first 52 minutes have been hot garbage.
But if you ask me, I think this son of a bitch is from outer space.
Whoa, 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 don't give the studios any ideas. We've already had 2 dogshit TCM prequels. They drag Heather back in to be tortured some more.
Wanna suck the face?
No.
And Granny Leatherface holds up Jenny so Walter can... What the fuck? Why is this quite possibly the worst edited film of all time? Darla and Jenny talk more about the FBI or whatever, and Vilmer gives off a, rapey vibe, and all I can think is...
I gotta get the fuck out of there.
Oh, thank God. Darla starts beating the prick with a shoe, giving Jenny ample time to grab a double barrel and go all...
This is my boomstick!
But Walter gives off Vilmer's resume.
He's been shot before, lots of times, run over.
And brag about how you done been shot and stabbed like it's fun to be you.
And of course, his goofy ass takes back the gun and blasts out a window instead. But, watch this. That man won an Oscar, the highest honor in the film industry.
And the Oscar goes to Matthew McConaughey.
If you heard that and only had this movie to go off of, you'd think everyone picking the winners were on bath salts. Jenny gets in the car and tries to drive away, but Vilmer somehow got on the roof and rides onto the hood until getting thrown off. But the car pulls a Tommy boy and she crashes. That's now 3, count 'em, 1, 2, 3 car crashes in this movie. She's taken back in and beaten some more, and we're blessed with another Leatherface dress-up sesh that rivals the Dumb and Dumber montage, and then Darla and Vilmer start viciously making out on the dinner table. What? Why? What is this movie? Oh, and get this. You see this girl very obviously moving? Well, she's supposed to be a taxidermied person in the next shot. Why didn't they just leave the prop dummy there the whole time? Why even bother bringing in a person as a stand-in? But even better, Vilmer smacks Jenny with the sound effects and all. Even though her face doesn't move. Kronk, say your thing.
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
With this movie, I could say that every 5 seconds. And now Darla tries to comfort her. Is this the biggest case of Stockholm Syndrome, or is it pure retardation? Probably both. Jenny finally goes full Emperor Palpatine.
If you're gonna kill me, then do it!
Do it. And Vilmer loses his shit, throwing down Darla, smashing Walter for saying too much pseudo-intellectual bullshit, and, in the most shocking thing in the movie, Grandpa gets up and walks away. Now, in all honesty, I'm not sure if that was scripted. The actor might have just said fuck it and left. I know I would've. And we never see the Grandpa again in this movie. So, I think my theory holds up.
You sit the fuck down! And shut up!
Any ounce of fear you might have had for Leatherface is definitely gone by this point. That was embarrassing. Also, because Heather hasn't gotten enough of a beating in this flick, she's set on fire only for the Illuminati to show up. I'm not even questioning it anymore. This is normal. Penn and Teller here then explain they're here to, I don't know, steer the plot along? I'm grasping at straws here. This shit makes no goddamn sense! Here, use your imagination to think up what'll happen next. I assure you it's better than what actually does. Nothing. This Men in Black reject explains that Vilmer and the gang are here for one reason and one reason only.
It's very simple. I want these people to know the meaning of horror.
Oh, then let me just pop this in. Oh, I'm sorry, we're missing this pivotal moment of this guy's Cenobite-level body scars, and he then licks Jenny's face.
Oh, God. No!
You think God stays in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he's created?
Vilmer finally puts Heather out of her misery and looks like he's taking a huge shit. And he begins cutting himself all to hell.
He's absolutely bonkers. And that's not bad.
And since the movie's almost over, Jenny escapes real quick and makes Vilmer's leg go apeshit, and she runs out of there faster than a hungry zombie. And, wait a second, what was the name of McConaughey's character again? Vilmer! Right. And then we cut to what feels like a completely different movie with a biplane, an old couple in an RV with fucking Bloody Marys, and I cannot believe this is really what I'm saying. I know I keep saying it, but this is ridiculous. The couple hesitantly pick up Jenny, and Leatherface is randomly on Vilmer's truck, just like in Texas Chainsaw 2, and causes them to crash in the most Jason Lives-like way possible. Just when all hope seems lost, the biplane swoops in and kills Vilmer for no fucking reason. We don't know who's flying it, why he did it, or where he's going, because he's just gone. But I have a suspicion on who it is.
11 o'clock! John, I'm sorry. They got us.
And since they seem to want to wrap this shit up as much as I do, the limo containing the licking weirdo takes Jenny and the dude away.
I can't tell you how disappointed I am.
Ditto that, brother. Oh, and yeah, the old couple is never mentioned or shown again. They might have died in that crash. Your guess is as good as mine. We bounce over to the hospital to see a lot of Texas Chainsaw alumni, including John Dugan as the cop who played the OG grandpa, Paul Partain in a quick bit part who was Franklin, and most obvious, Marilyn Burns on the gurney, who was Sally once upon a time. But for whatever reason, Jenny stares at her as if she knows her. What? Even if that was Sally from all those years ago, Jenny of all people wouldn't know who that was. And why in the hell was she on the stretcher to begin with? 20 plus years later, she's still just continuously getting wheeled around some random hospital? Fuck, this movie's stupid. And that was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, and what the hell? This is honestly one of the most surreal movies I've ever seen. Half of me thinks it's hilariously bad and really entertaining, but the other half thinks it's so awful in every way, I don't want to ever think about it again. There's a lot of this movie that I can get a good laugh out of, mostly Matthew McConaughey acting like a total fucking maniac, as well as how badly it's edited and structured as a movie. But the critical part of my brain could easily pick apart for days all the flaws of it, because there's like 10,000, with everything from the series continuity to everyone acting like helpless morons. Vilmer's robot leg makes no sense and has no place in the movie. Darla's roadside real estate office, while probably a farce and not a real business to begin with, is still one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in a movie. And now for the thing I feel strongest against, the ruining of Leatherface as a scary figure. Sure, he's always been a child trapped in a brute's body, but he was terrifying in the original movie, and used what little screen time he had to make one hell of an impact. Now, he's nothing more than a pathetic joke playing dress-up and getting pushed around by a high school girl. It's sad to see Tobe Hooper's masterpiece be shit on like this, being they somehow managed to make a guy with masks made of human flesh with a big-ass chainsaw less frightening than the boat scene in Willy Wonka. All in all, this movie's awful, and I'm sure you know that, and even though it can make me laugh at times, and could easily be called a so bad it's good kind of movie, it's still a terrible attempt with nothing good in it, and I can't say there's enough to ever have me revisit it. Dumb characters, nothing scary, obviously, and ruins not only one of the best horror icons ever, but was the nail in the coffin for the original TCM series, which at this point is like a fucking battered housewife, with every movie going further and further into mediocrity and sheer, utter garbage. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation is getting an F. Stay away, don't waste your time with this, unless you're really in the mood for some hot garbage splattered onto your face. While it might not be as bad as some other movies I've talked about, it's still a dog shit flick at its finest. So, The Next Generation. You think that you can just go and be a bad movie and get away scot-free, but that's not how we do things anymore. So, looks like it's time for you to meet your maker. That'll show it, not to make a fool of me again. Stupid bastard. Come on, Buster. Got away 'cause the dogs are barking outside.